Today on Drawbli,
Ben is painting John Singer Sargent portraits.
click that subscribe button if you're new around here.
And comment below with ideas of what we can do to improve as artists.
And if you're doing some master studies, maybe share them online with the hashtag Drawbli.
Hashtag Drawbli, we want to see.
So we're doing some master studies.
Master studies.
Of some John Singer Sargent portraits.
Yes, the master himself.
I want to start here. What do you think of John Singer Sargent's work?
I think it's amazing. I think his stroke quality is and economy is amazing. I'm so thrilled to do this after we just went to the Cincinnati Art Museum and got to see one of his paintings in the flesh.
Yeah, I think
really
there was
awesome.
definitely one. It was two women sitting on the bank of like a river stream.
Two women
creek.
sitting on the bank there, fishing 5 feet apart because they're, yes.
Because they're not gay. Yes.
Yes. The one is wearing white, one is wearing black. It is a notable portrait because the fishing rods are facing to the top. I read the plaque and it said, the fishing rods are parallel with each other. It was a good painting.
He broke art rules when, he was a master of his craft, so he was allowed to break all those tangent rules.
You were just telling me the other day that one definition of a master at their craft is that they can create new methods within that craft.
I think that is like one of the technical definitions here. We'll talk more about the master study here in just a moment, but there are like different levels of proficiency. For example, a professional is considered to be someone who is paid for their craft. Mm-hmm. You are considered a professional if you're, making money from it or if someone's paying you for creating that thing. So if you're a professional artist, you're a working artist. It doesn't necessarily mean you're good, doesn't necessarily mean you're bad, but for masters, which is considered like the highest level that you can achieve, it is when you are creating new ways, new methods, new techniques, or doing things for your medium in a new way. Mm-hmm. You're like creating, maybe that's a genre, maybe that's, an art style, whatever it is. That's one of the definitions of master.
So cool to find yourself in a field, or really any field, where you are situated to be able to make big changes and improvements. It's funny the way that works. Like there's certain fields where you really don't want people striking out on their own at the drop of a hat to experiment with new things. Of course, my regular profession of nursing comes to mind, where you do want innovation, but you don't necessarily want it just kind of randomly that day.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah, it has to be evidence-based and factual. But with art, it's a lot more open to random experimentation.
I don't think that's true. I actually think it's very similar to like the medical industry. You got to know your background. You got to have your really solid fundamentals to be able to like strike out and then evolve what already exists.
In that way, it is similar. I got the chance to go to a symposium of some sort by this renowned heart doctor, surgeon. Yes, he helped develop left ventricular assist devices, LVADs, basically artificial hearts. And I got to hear him talk, and it was so cool.
So he's a pretty smart guy.
He was pretty smart, and all the smart people were there listening, and I was there too.
And, wait, why wasn't I there?
Because you were at the hospital that day, and I was. I work there, and I chose to go to this thing.
But I was smart enough to go, is what you're saying.
I understood about 70% of what was spoken about. I had never heard of an RVAD, and that was a little shocking, but it turns out none of my friends had either. And my friends are smart, so.
Okay, so.
Anyway, my point being, it was interesting to listen to these masters of their crafts, these doctors and this doctor speaking, because they were innovators within a very complex field. And how fun to get to like channel some of that energy to be an innovator and imagine that in an artistic frame too.
Well, hey, since we've just spent the last 5 minutes talking about Abby's symposium that she went to.
Sorry about talking about myself, God.
So these are master studies. We are learning from John Singer Sargent. And as you just saw with that first painting flying by, our goal was to copy and learn from John Singer Sargent's artwork. Now, the goal wasn't necessarily with these to try to get every pixel in the perfect location, every brushstroke exactly the same. We were trying to study specifically John Singer Sargent's brushwork and trying to apply that to our painting. So Whether the proportions were off by a little, not a huge deal. This second portrait, the idea is to do a speed paint. And speed paint, the term for those that have been on YouTube or the internet for a while, has become a little misconstrued, meaning that speed paint anymore just means a painting that I made that I took the footage and sped it up. You could really say that every single Drawbli is a speed paint by that definition. But specifically, back in the day, what a speed paint was, before the internet, the algorithm of YouTube took it and beat it into a pulp and said, this is our word now. Speed paint was you'd paint something like a master study, and then you'd repeat that in a very short amount of time, trying to inherently or maybe subconsciously create all these things that you just learned very quickly. And then you'd repeat that multiple times and try to learn from that.
Yeah. Do you feel like you learned from that?
Yeah, I do. I think that there are... I don't know if I really got a ton from brushwork from this. I think that's maybe a little too advanced for where I am right now, but I do think that I got a lot from just where John Singer Sargent kind of puts his lights and his shadows when we're lighting a face here with this kind of like basic things, or, a basic lighting scenario. So I felt like that was very helpful for me to just like repeat that once right after the fact.
Yeah, yours looks really good. And this is your speed paint, you said?
Yeah, this
Wow.
was I think it was like 20 to 30 minutes
Wow,
for this.
that
But
looks
I
really
mean,
good.
it looks like it.
No, but I actually really like it. I think that looks really, really good.
The first one was a little over an hour.
Oh, I liked how this one turned out. Your work on this one turned out amazing. I like it.
So the assignment here was to do another master study, but this time instead of, as we said with the first one, like, oh, proportions don't matter, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Same thing here, but intentionally try to stylize this artwork. And there are a million different ways you can stylize an artwork, so I tried to do it in every way that I've done in the past, stylizing proportions, stylizing color, stylizing, the lighting, really giving it like a graphic feel, while still trying to adhere closely to the John Singer Sargent, at least brush stroke, or not brush economy, but yeah, brush strokes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was difficult.
It is difficult to create palettes of color on the face with just a single brush stroke here and there and still get the coverage and saturation you want. Not easy at all.
And I'm sure that I'm excited to see yours and hear you talk about like what you learned during your master's studies, kind of like what you took away from them.
This was such a fun exercise, and yeah, I will definitely talk about it, but not here. I'll talk about it in my video on my
You painted the
portraits.
exact same 3 portraits, so we'll get to see
No,
how.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? You didn't paint these 3?
I painted 2 of these, and then I painted a different one for the last one.
Oh, yeah, but you did do the speed paint for the first one, like you did too? That's what I'm saying. We did the same portraits.
Yes.
So good talk. Yeah, you did the same one.
You said 3 portraits as if there were 3 separate people.
Well, I do have some more portraits that I'm working on, but we'll get to see those soon once I finish
Oh
those up.
yeah, those are really cool. I'm excited to see those too.
So in terms of brush strokes here, one of the big takeaways with John Singer Sargent was how he layers his brush strokes and how he can lay down one of the big examples that Ahmed Al-Duri used, which is whose course we're in, was the collar shape here, which is a triangle. He would create just a single large, blocky brush stroke, and then he would use darker colors, or whatever layer would need to go on top of that, to carve out the shape of that triangle. And when you're talking about oil paint, that is how you needed to do it back then to get those sharp edges. Today, with digital painting, there are a lot of different ways that you can achieve that effect. So for me, I really struggle to see some of the value for, working this way. I think that it is one way that you can work, and I think you can get some organic randomness from working that way, but I'm struggling to see main value by applying this kind of layering brushstroke effect or workflow to my workflow.
How do you prefer to get that textured look of a brush came through here, but with that specific shape?
You could do the exact same thing. You could use a selection tool. You could use masks. I mean, with digital, there's a million ways to do everything.
Yeah, no, I meant your preference specifically.
It would depend. You know, you could, because it's digital, you know, you can create that big brushstroke if you want, and then you can actually erase part of it because you don't, you know, it's on its own layer. You don't have to paint over top of it. And when you paint over top of things, you know, you can, I think, get muddy pretty quickly. But obviously, John Singer Sargent was extremely good at not letting that happen.
Right, right. Ooh, your final touches here.
The proportional changes, but yes, there is our
like
boy,
this.
our
I love
stylized
all the-
old man.
I love all the textures you use here. I think that adds so much interest and dynamic passion to your
Dynamic passion,
picture.
thank
Yes,
you.
Yes.
And if you want to incorporate some dynamic passion into your life, you should click that subscribe button.
And comment below with ideas of what we can do to improve.
And share your dynamic passion online with the hashtag Drawbli.
And this is the part where we say
Goomba.
goodbye.
What does dynamic passion mean?
It means quickly moving, fast, dynamic.
Dynamic.
Dynamic and passion fruit. So a swift moving fruit is the etymology of dynamic passion. Swift moving fruit.